Moses was the descendant of Yaqub alayhi salam, and he was born when the Israelites migrated to Egypt. Moses is mentioned 136 times in the Holy Quran, making him the most mentioned prophet. Surahs or chapters like Al-Baqarah, Al-Araf, Taha, Al-Qasas, Al-Shura, Ghafir, Yunis, Al-Isra, Ad-Dukhan, Al-Zukhruf, Al-Ma'idah, Al-Naml, Al-Naziat. Various hadiths about Moses are also mentioned in notable books. Moses is also known as Kalimullah, as he did kalam or had a conversation with Allah. Before Moses was born, Israelites studied scriptures that said that one of their descendants would bring about the fall of the Egyptian kingdom. Pharaoh arose and governed Egypt over time. He was one of the most powerful kings. Pharaoh's committee of counselors unavoidably brought the Bani Israel prophecy to his attention, and these prophecies deeply alarmed Pharaoh. So, he ordered that every male child that is born to an Israelite woman should be killed. However, when Egyptians complained of less manpower, Pharaoh altered his order. In order to allow a regulated rise in the population of the male workforce, Pharaoh, on the recommendation of his ministers, ordered that the newborn males of Bani Israel only be murdered at alternate years. Moses' mother gave birth to his elder brother Aaron, Harun, in the year of pardon, whereas Moses was born in the year of slaughter. How was it possible? It was indeed a blessing and sign of God, as Moses' mother showed no sign of pregnancy. After Moses was born, his mother would keep him discreet, but also feared the soldiers and the strict patrolling. God thereupon gave her the command to put Moses in a basket and cast him into the sea, just as it is stated in Surah Qasas and Taha. Then he made her a promise that he would bring Moses back to her and elevate him to the status of a prophet. Mother of Moses did what God commanded her to do. She kept the baby in a small basket and let it go in the swift currents of the Nile. Moses was then discovered by the Pharaoh's family. According to certain authentic narrations, the Pharaoh's wife Asiya fell in love with an infant. So she commanded the Pharaoh not to kill the infants, but maybe adopt him as he might be useful to them. Moses' mother was sad and missing her son in the meantime. If God hadn't given her more confidence in his promise, she would have been about to tell others this. She instructed Moses' elder sister to accompany the infant. To avoid being recognized and raising suspicions about her, she kept a safe distance while keeping an eye on Moses. Moses couldn't be nursed by any other woman except his mother, as God had predetermined. So when Asiya was worried about nursing the baby, Moses' sister went and told them about a family who can milk the baby and was his well-wishers. Thus, Moses was reunited with his mother, who nursed him and felt ecstatic. Despite growing up in the Pharaoh's court, Moses was a revered leader of the Israelites and a monotheist. He once witnessed two men fighting when he was away from his family in the city. The Israelite who was one of them was his adherent, while the Egyptian who was the other was his foe. Moses attacked his adversary while assisting one of his followers. The Egyptian subsequently perished and fell to the ground. Moses claimed that what they were doing, fighting, was the work of Satan, a foe who was blatantly mistaken. The next day, Moses spotted the same Israelite fighting with another Egyptian. When Moses tried to intervene, the Egyptian said, "Do you intend to murder me in the same manner that you murdered someone yesterday? You don't want to be a reformer, simply a tyrant in the land." A man then hurried from outside the city, advising Moses to flee right away, because the Pharaoh's elites want to murder him for killing one of their men. Moses warily walked out of the city as a result. He cried out to God, "My Lord, protect me from the criminals." Moses asked for God's help as he made his way toward a faraway land known as Midian. There, he saw a few men surrounding a well to water their flocks, where two women were standing at some distance, perhaps waiting for their chance as they couldn't go amidst the men because of their shyness and modesty. Moses helped the women and then sat in seclusion to invoke his Lord. Then, one of the women approached him and told him to seek a reward from their father. The father of those women not only hired Moses, but also offered to marry one of his daughters if Moses agreed to work for him for at least 8 or 10 years. Moses agreed to the proposal and married one of the daughters along with working as a shepherd for the given tenure. After serving for a fixed tenure, Moses and his wife departed for Egypt. The warmth of a fire near Mount Sinai was then felt by him. Moses remarked, "Wait here, maybe I can bring some news from it, or bring some of it here so we can get warm." When Moses arrived there, he noticed that a tree was ablaze. Then Moses heard the voice of God saying, "O Moses, I am Allah, Lord of the worlds. I have chosen you," God continued, "so pay attention to what I'm about to say. Indeed, I am God. There is no other God. As a result, praise me and start a prayer for my remembrance. The resurrection day is indeed approaching, but I want to keep it a secret so that I can judge each soul according to what they do and reward or punish them accordingly. However, do not let those who reject it and adhere to their desires divert your attention. Otherwise, you'll die." God then asked Moses about what he carries in his right hand. When Moses told him that it was a staff that he uses to lean on, God told him to throw it forward, and the staff was miraculously changed into a swiftly moving snake. God told Moses to be not fearful about it, as it will convert to its original state. Then God asked Moses to draw his hands to the side, and when they came out, they were white without any malice. Indeed, these were the signs of God. Moses was now sent on the mission toward Pharaoh as he transgressed by claiming himself as a god. Looking for the perfect gift to give to your Muslim brother or sister? Introducing the interactive prayer mat. This is the ideal choice for children and newly reverted Muslims. My Salah mat is not only educational, but also fun and easy to use. It helps you memorize the steps of Salah, along with the surahs and du'as, through its interactive buttons. In no time, you'll gain independence in your Salah. This unique and meaningful gift is a wonderful investment for your friends and family, supporting them on their spiritual journey. Grab your My Salah mat today using the link in the description. There are separate links for the children's and adult mats. Moses prayed to God, pleading with him to grant him several requests.
اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي.
Moses used to stammer because of an accident in his infancy where he put a piece of coal in his mouth. Another supplication that Moses made was to make his brother, Aaron, his minister or wazir, as he can clearly communicate with people.
واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه.
He visited the Pharaoh with his brother Aaron and said, "O Pharaoh, I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds, who is bound to say about Allah only the truth." Moses stated as he turned to face Pharaoh and his crowd, "Send the children of Israel with me, as I have come to you with strong proof from your Lord." Pharaoh was astounded by what he thought to be Moses' outrageous audacity. He took use of the chance to threaten Moses' freedom and to remind Moses of his transgression while simultaneously reminding Moses of his upbringing. He ignored Moses' request and instead used strategies to undermine him. Pharaoh asked Moses, whom he called the Lord of the world. Moses replied, "If you are convinced, he is the Lord of the heavens, the earth, and all in between." "What about the earlier generations?" the Pharaoh questioned. "That information is included in a book that belongs to my Lord, who never makes a mistake or forgets," Moses retorted. The Pharaoh then addressed his courtiers and said, "Did you hear what he said?" Then he added in jest, "Your Lord and the Lord of your forefathers, the man who was chosen to serve as your prophet, has become insane." Moses did not lose heart, but continued to talk about the attributes of God. He told Pharaoh about the signs of Allah. Once more, the Pharaoh threatened to imprison anybody who followed another god but himself. "What if I offer a clear demonstration of my sincerity?" Moses retorted. "Fair right. Bring it if you're telling the truth," the Pharaoh said. Moses flung his staff to the ground as a result, and it transformed into a huge snake. He then hid his right hand under his shirt and pulled it out with hands that shone like lamps. The Pharaoh said, "Moses is a master sorcerer indeed." When Pharaoh inquired about his counsel, they suggested defeating Moses with their sorcerers. Therefore, Pharaoh gathered all the adept sorcerers from various places and set them against Moses and Aaron. He then extended an invitation to everyone to attend the fight between Moses and the sorcerers. The sorcerers then asked Pharaoh if they would receive a reward from him if they succeeded. "Sure, I would consider you my closest courtiers," the Pharaoh retorted. The magicians agreed to depict their sorcery first. They launched their staffs and ropes. among other magical implements, and all of a sudden, it appeared as though they were moving like snakes. The Quran says that these were not snakes, but rather creatures that, when they threw, deceived the people's eyes, terrified them, and displayed a great feat of magic. Moses was also intimidated, but God assured him of his victory. Thus, when Moses threw his staff, it transformed into a giant snake that gulped up all the fake snakes of the magician. The sorcerer saw this and immediately understood that it was a miracle rather than sorcery. At once, they all turned believers and advocated their feelings right in front of the whole court. Pharaoh was not happy with their fearless reception of Moses' religion, as the magicians didn't wait to hear Pharaoh's words too. "I'll crucify you after cutting off your hands and feet from opposing sides. Then you'll be able to tell which of us will receive a harsher and longer-lasting punishment," Pharaoh shouted at them. But sorcerers were not scared. They repented and were ready to go through any trial before going back to their Lord. Pharaoh's wife Asiya accepted the religion of Moses. When Pharaoh came to know about it, he showed no mercy to his wife. He was so furious that he killed her with his own hands. Pharaoh's oppression was severe on the Bani Israel. Even after a continuous call towards God, the Pharaoh and his people did not believe in Moses as Lord. Once, when the people of Egypt faced a severe flood, they asked Moses to invoke his Lord for their help. They promised to believe in Moses and show mercy to Bani Israel. When Egyptians received the much-needed help, did they keep their promise? No! Allah gave them many chances to accept the true religion, but the people of Egypt failed to keep their promise every time. Moses made every effort to call Pharaoh towards the true religion, but when all his efforts failed, he asked God to punish Pharaoh. Moses' supplication was answered, and soon he received God's message. After Moses had gathered the Israelites, God told him, "Hasten, go by night with my servants, for the Pharaoh is after you." Moses and the Israelites then started moving eastward until they arrived at the Red Sea. The Pharaoh, meantime, dispatched heralds to all the adjacent cities to seek them out and encircle them. "They are only a small group of people," he remarked. "Were we not the ones who forced them to leave their possessions and houses, as well as gardens and springs?" Although God had given the Israelites the rightful heirs to such things, the Pharaoh had a point. Moses and the Pharaoh faced off beside the Red Sea. Israelites were terrified. They declared, "This is it. The Pharaoh will now seize us." "Don't be alarmed. My Lord is with me, and he will lead me," Moses answered. Therefore, God gave Moses the order to strike the water with his staff. As a result, the sea split into two parts, each of which resembled a massive mountain. Once the sea had split, Pharaoh and his army marched there. The Pharaoh and his soldiers drowned when Moses and all of his companions crossed the sea, and God later restored the sea together. The Pharaoh's body was left and preserved by God so that it can serve as an example for the coming generation. Moses and the Israelites made a successful getaway from the Pharaoh and made camp on the right side of Mount Sinai, which is located east of the Red Sea. After that, the Israelites were divided into 12 tribes. They were in a desert with no access to food or water. God commanded Moses to strike a rock with his staff. As a result, 12 springs erupted. Hence, each tribe should drink from the spring that was specified to them. Then God sent down to the Israelites what is known as manna and quails as food. Moses spent 30 nights atop Mount Sinai to worship God, fast, and receive guidance. Moses was then instructed to stay for a further 10 nights for a total of 40. Aaron was appointed vizier by Moses before he left his people, and his job was to oversee everything while he was gone to meet the Lord. Moses urged God to show himself. God replied, "You can never see me. However, if the mountain is in its proper location and standing, you will see me." Moses therefore lost consciousness as the mountain lowered and leveled when God appeared there. When Moses gained consciousness, he cried out, "My Lord, you are clear of any false attribution. You have my sincere repentance, and I am the first to put my faith in you." Moses received a tablet of stone given to him by God. The tablet of stone had all the information, direction, guidance, and explanation. God also told Moses that soon, disbelievers will not be able to see his signs, but go astray in falsehood and errors. During Moses' absence, a man by the name of Samiri instructed the Israelites to bring him all of their gold and jewels. Then he fashioned them into a golden calf. He struck it with the ground an angel had trod when they were sailing across the ocean. The calf would consequently make a noise. Samiri then called out to people to worship that golden calf. Aaron tried to stop him a lot, but the weaker section of Bani Israel did not pay any attention to Aaron. When Moses came back and witnessed their actions firsthand, he was so furious that he hurled the tablets carrying the Torah's instructions to the ground. Moses also yelled at his brother in frustration. He grabbed him by the beard and questioned why he did not stop them from getting lost. Moses also banished Samiri, picked up the tablets, and seeks repentance from his Lord. Israelites also repented to God, but the only way to get their repentance accepted was death. Hence, a large number of people slaughtered themselves when Moses told them that it was the only way. However, after a certain number, Allah forgave them and few of them did not die for repentance. The calf was also destroyed and thrown into the sea. Chapter 2 of the Holy Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah, reveals another story. There was a kind man who treated his parents extremely well. When his father was sleeping one day, he wanted to close a crucial business agreement. That righteous guy, however, chose not to wake him up out of respect for his father and declined the offer. He thus lost the client. When the father woke up, he was pleased to learn about his son's compassionate nature. Therefore, he gave him a cow. Meanwhile, a heinous crime took place as a young man was murdered and no trace of the murderer was found. The cousin of the dead demanded blood money. So the Israelites came to Moses to seek his help. God commands you to butcher a cow so that you might track down the murderer, Moses told his people. His followers expressed amazement and asked, "Are you mocking us?" Moses declared, "Should I be doing that? I seek refuge in God." But the people were not satisfied. They asked different questions regarding the color, age, and height of the cow to make the task difficult. Such a cow was located after a lengthy search by the Israelites. The cow was at the home of the same kind man who respected and cared for his parents. They argued with him a lot and eventually paid a high price for the cow by stuffing its skin with gold coins. They brought Moses the cow. When they killed it, they rubbed a portion of the cow's body into the dead man, and with God's permission, the boy came back to life. He declared, "I was assassinated by my cousin who wants blood money." The issue was therefore resolved and the criminal guy was then punished. Moses is informed by Allah that a man named Keter on earth possesses knowledge that no one else possesses. So Moses met him and set on a journey with him. For a while, Moses and Keter are on the road together, and during that time, Keter engages in several actions that Moses finds odd and occasionally dangerous. He destroys a ship, kills a little boy, and damages a wall. Every time Moses presses Keter on why he did that, Keter responds that it was necessary to stop a worse harm from occurring. The ship belonged to poor people who worked on it, so Keter wanted to add a flaw to it because a king took every good ship, and with that hole in the ship, he wouldn't be interested. And as for the youngster, his parents were Muslims, so we were concerned that he wouldn't treat them unfairly by rejecting their faith. We therefore meant for their Lord to replace him with someone more merciful and upright for them. Regarding the wall, it belonged to two local orphan boys who had a treasure hidden beneath it. Their father was a decent man, and your Lord meant for them to reach adulthood and retrieve their treasure as a kindness from your Lord, and I didn't act on my initiative. Moses eventually realizes that Keter has a thorough understanding of Allah's will, and that his deeds are always in line with it. Moses comes home a wiser and more modest man, grateful for the information he has learned from Keter. Sahih al-Bukhari 1339 states that when the angel of death approached Moses, Moses gave him a violent smack, ruining one of his eyes. Returning to his Lord, the angel replied, "You send me to a slave who does not want to die. Go back and tell him," that is Moses, "to place his hand over the back of an ox, for he will be allowed to live for several years equal to the number of hairs coming under his hand." Allah remarked after healing his eye. The angel then visited him and delivered the same message. Moses then cried out, "Oh my Lord, what will happen next?" "Death will be then," he said. "Let it be now." He prayed to Allah to bring him within a stone's throw of the sacred land. Were I there, I would show you the grave of Moses by the way near the red sand hill, stated Allah's messenger.